checking the results of important transits such as that of Saturn would be a very wise thing if done both from the rising sign as well as your moon sign. Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. Few days back we did the transit of Saturn into Aquarius' results for different rising signs. But many times whenever I do transits, important transits, a question is also asked, should we also see the results of the transit from the moon sign, and would the results of Saturn's transit seen from the rising sign also be similar to the results that we see from the moon sign, the sign in which moon is placed in your horoscope? So the answer is, to some extent we can relate, but it may not be a right thing to say or to see or to state that the results seen from the rising sign as well as seen from the moon sign would be identical. There will be many things which will be different because your moon may be placed in a different house from that of your rising sign or that of your ascendant or your first house. So when a planet transits, it may be seen in a different house from the rising sign but in a different house from the moon. So it's always better that when you're looking at a transit, you see both from the rising sign as well as separately from the moon side, while not assuming that they will be similar. Now, what is the chief difference between when a result is seen from the moon sign apart from the rising sign? Now, firstly, the rising sign is your ascendant. It is the most important house, the most important sign, because that is the sign which characterizes or gives personality to many of the results that you will accrue from that particular house or from your ascendant. And ascendant is the most important house or the most important component of your life, which in a way captures the entire life in some way, looking at the overall life's picture. And so the ascendant lord is important, the ascendant sign is important. Then what do we do with the moon sign? The moon sign becomes very important because firstly, how do we look at the dasha? We look at the dasha from the moon nakshatra. Firstly, the nakshatra in which moon is placed, that nakshatra lord's dasha will be the first dasha. So the transit of a moon through a nakshatra at the time of your birth is very, very important. So if moon's transit is very important at the time of your birth, that identifies your birth nakshatra, that also identifies the dasha lord of what you're starting into or what you're being born into, then transit should also be seen from the moon sign. However, the results that you see from the rising sign are pertaining to the materialistic results that we chase, and that's why seeing the results of a transit from the rising sign from a material perspective becomes very important. In earlier times, it was suggested that the transit should be seen more from the moon sign. The reason being is that your mental capacity, your manas, your focus, your ability to support others, nourish others, mother others, and to empathize with others, create that understanding, that was seen as the most important. But in today's time, rather than nurturing others, supporting others, taking care of others, mothering others, it is more important to first take care of yourself and then others. Maybe at max you may take care of yourself and your immediate family members. But many times in today's time, we are not able to look beyond maybe your immediate spouse and our children. Very rarely are we able to give enough attention to our siblings and maybe to our parents, not as much as we probably desire. Many times we want to keep a distance also from those relations. So in today's time, if you're looking at what are the materialistic results, you should obviously see it from the rising sign. However, if you want to see what is the emotional component of yours, what are the state of mind that you will go through during that particular transit, how the transit will affect your mind, your ability to be able to emote, to connect, to empathize with others, to be able to nourish others, to be able to support others, and how your mind will focus how it will be able to take care of its emotional intelligence. All that becomes very important from the moon sign Lagna or the sign in which moon is placed. So let's jump in and see today how the particular transit of Saturn, ensuing transit of Saturn into Aquarius, which is coming about roughly in a month's time, that will accrue for different ascendant signs from the moon's Lagna. So whichever sign your moon is placed in, what kind of results you will get from that perspective. Now this is also important because when Saturn will be getting into Aquarius, it will be affecting 4 signs from a Sade Sati perspective. For example, for Sagittarius ascendant natives, the Sade Sati is ending. What I mean by Sagittarius sign natives, where those people who have moon in the sign of Sagittarius, because Sade Sati is seen of the transit of Saturn going over the natal placement or birth placement of the moon. And now moon is transiting from the Capricorn sign into the Aquarius sign, which means it is moving away from Capricorn. Capricorn sign, for those people who have moon in Sagittarius sign, is the Capricorn sign is the second house from Sagittarius sign, which means that is the sign in which your Sade Sati peak period, after the peak period, the setting period occurs. So when Saturn is moving away from the Capricorn sign, it means it is moving away from the setting period for those people whose moon is in Sagittarius sign. So in a month's time, for Sagittarius ascendant natives, your Sade Sati is ending. But for Capricorn ascendant natives, Saturn was in your sign, which means for those people who have moon in Capricorn sign, they were going through your peak period, and now Saturn will get into Aquarius, which means you will be ending or you will be getting into your setting period of Sade Sati. That is also an important component, and that's why this particular transit should also be seen from the moon, especially that of Saturn, vis-a-vis how Saturn and moon are placed in your horoscope, and now the Saturn is transiting. Thirdly, for Aquarius ascendant natives, Saturn will be, I'm talking from the moon's perspective, where moon is placed in the Aquarius sign. Saturn getting into Aquarius, which means you will be hitting your peak period of Sade Sati. And roughly for 2 years, 2 months, you will be in your peak period, followed by then the setting period when Saturn goes into the Pisces sign. But for the Pisces sign ascendant natives, where moon is placed in your Pisces sign from the moon's Lagna perspective, when Saturn is getting into your Aquarius sign, which is the penultimate or the 12th house to the Pisces sign, which means you will be entering into the rising sign or starting period of your Sade Sati. So for all these 4 signs from the moon sign perspective, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces, this is an important transit of Saturn moving away from Capricorn into Aquarius. So this transit will be affecting all the attributes connected to the moon, whether it's about your creativity, your innovation, your empathy, your understanding, your ability to connect with people, your ability to be able to focus on your job, on your materialistic desires. Moon also rules the 4th house, the natural 4th house, so assets all get affected. So let's jump in and see when moon gets into different signs in your natal chart or from the moon Lagna perspective, how the Saturn transit into Aquarius will play out for different ascendants from the moon signs placement. Now for those people who have moon in the sign of Aries, for them Saturn will be transiting into your 11th house, and from the 11th house it will be aspecting moon in the Lagna but in its debilitation sign, which means for those people who have moon in the sign of Aries, for you may go through some troubled times, you may go through some emotional upheavals as well. Certain results from your life may also slow down. Your capacity to be able to connect with people, your capacity to be able to emotionally show your emotions or empathize with people, support people will also either slow down, or people may think that you are taking a step back or you are slow in responding because of Saturn aspect on the moon. And while Saturn is aspecting moon in the Lagna in the 1st house, Saturn is also aspecting your 5th house as well as your 8th house. So you will also see that from an emotional perspective, firstly results for moon will also slow down, results of assets will slow down because moon also rules your 4th house of assets. So there may be some struggles in how you will be able to acquire assets, how you will be able to keep and peace and harmony at home as well. and how you're able to showcase your emotions, connect with people, connect with your spouse also, because moon is also aspecting the Libra sign, the sign of relations, through its 7th aspect. And Saturn is also aspecting your 8th house, which means there may be some sudden issues, sudden problem, challenges, because of which moon may be trouble or your emotional perspective may get a little shaken. However, because moon rules a Kendra house and will be placed in another Kendra house, so it will be a good overall perspective for Aries Ascendant native as long as you keep your emotional health in check. Now for Taurus Ascendant natives, moon is placed, if it's placed in your Ascendant in your Taurus sign, then it's in a exaltation sign for those people who have moon in the sign of Taurus in your birth chart. So for those people, Saturn moving into Aquarius sign, which means that Saturn is moving into your 10th house, while it is a very stronger Yoga Karaka. So Saturn's aspect on the 12th house from an emotional perspective shows that there may be some tension or some challenges in your purse strength and how you manage your expenses, how you manage your emotional health during the times when sudden challenges may come in and you may be forced to loosen the purse strength and spend money. And because Saturn is also aspecting the 4th house of domestic beliefs, domestic happiness, domestic harmony, so for people who have moon in the sign of Taurus, you will have to focus more attention on the domestic front, keep the peace and tranquility at home, as well as utilize the help of your spouse to be able to keep the harmony at home, to keep the balance at home, and to keep the ascendant and to keep your expenses in check, because Saturn's aspect, 3rd aspect, is on the 12th house, but in the sign of Aries, it's debilitation sign. Now, whichever is your rising sign, check which is your rising sign. Here, for example, we have taken the example of your rising sign being Virgo. So, for Virgo Ascendant native, Saturn will be going into your 6th house and moon will be placed in your 9th house. So, you need to keep in mind that from your rising sign perspective, you will have results of Saturn being the 6th house from your rising sign or your ascendant, and moon being in the 9th house of gains. So those results will also accrue for you. For Gemini Ascendant natives, I mean from the moon sign, if moon is in the sign of Gemini, the ascendant may be something else. For example, here we are taking the ascendant is, or your rising sign is Leo, but your moon sign is Gemini, which means moon is placed in the sign of Gemini in your birth chart. So for these people, from a moon Lagna perspective, Saturn is getting into your 9th house. From the 9th house, it will be aspecting your 11th house, its debilitation sign. It will be aspecting the Leo sign, the 3rd house, and Saturn will also be aspecting the 6th house, but the sign of Scorpio. So for Gemini Ascendant natives, overall gains may take a slight backseat, or at least from an emotional perspective, you may feel that you are not getting enough gains through Saturn's transit into Aquarius sign in the 9th house from the moon's Lagna perspective. And from societal connections, societal gains, also your ability to connect to society, your ability to be able to nourish or help society may be lessened. But it gives you a fantastic chance that if you are able to focus your attention at work, focus your attention to be able to get the support of your team members and be able to connect strongly to career, then the earnings may go up for Gemini Ascendant natives as moon rules the 2nd house and is placed in the Lagna. But because it is the Gemini sign, so communications are critical, putting in hard work will be important, and being able to influence people through your communication skills, through your supporting skills, through your empathy skills will be very, very important. If you are able to do that, then higher gains may also come related to 9th house, related to societal network effects also coming to you, those gains also coming to you, because Saturn is placed in the Aquarius sign, which is the natural 11th house, and aspecting the 11th house with the 3rd aspect. So Saturn being protective of the Dusthanas, Saturn will also control the challenges and sicknesses of Scorpio sign being in the 6th house. However, you may feel that time to time sluggishness of energy going down every now and then, so keep your focus up so that your earnings don't get affected for Gemini Ascendant natives from a moon sign perspective. Now for Cancer Ascendant natives, if you have moon in the Cancer sign, by virtue of which your Lagna, moon Lagna being Cancer, and say for example your Ascendant is rising sign is also Cancer sign. So if for Vargotama placement people, it's a very good placement if your especially if your moon is in the same sign as your rising sign. Then what you will be able to see, especially for those people who are of the Cancer sign, if moon is in your Cancer sign and now that Saturn will be going into the Aquarius sign, you will find that firstly, while Saturn is going into the 8th house, but it is going into his Mool Trikona sign, and from there it is with the third aspect aspecting the 10th house of career and the 2nd house of earning and the 5th house of change in your career. So career or place of working or how you're working may also get affected for Cancer Ascendant leaders from a moon sign perspective, those who are moon in the sign of Cancer. So there may be some emotional challenges which you face from your career perspective. For some of you, you may be unnecessarily fearing, though there is no such cause to fear, about your potential to earn or about your remuneration or your livelihood also. So there may be a opportunity at least of a change in job, or sometimes you may feel sluggish at work or not connected at work, and you may even think of changing your work or looking at a different opportunity. And for some people, you may take the drastic measure of even putting in your paper. So be very careful for those people who have moon in the sign of Cancer in your horoscope, that be careful of how you manage your work, because if you are able to do that, if you are able to keep getting connected emotionally to work, emotionally to team members, because moon is aspecting the Capricorn sign from the moon Lagna. So this is a overall good placement for Cancer Ascendant leaders from a moon Lagna perspective to be able to take care of your assets, to be able to take care of how you are working on your life's purpose, how you're working out your goals, and how you're also working out your finances. So overall, it's a balanced position for Cancer Ascendant leaders as long as you keep the emotional health in high order, keep the motivation going and focus on teamwork, and through that be able to overcome the challenges with the 8th house will throw at you from time to time. For Leo Ascendant natives, by virtue of which I mean if moon is placed in your Leo sign in your horoscope, whatever may be the ascendant, for example the rising sign may be, for example here we have taken the example of rising sign being Gemini but your moon sign being Leo. So from the moon sign's perspective, if moon is in the sign of Leo, Saturn is getting into the Aquarius sign, which means Saturn is getting into the 7th house. And when Saturn is getting into the 7th house, it will be aspecting moon in the Leo sign, Saturn will be aspecting the Aries sign in the 9th house, and Saturn will be aspecting the 4th house. So Saturn will have a direct bearing on your emotional health, your ability to be able to keep your emotions in check and to keep yourself focused and highly motivated while facing those areas getting activated where Saturn is aspecting with its third aspect, where it is aspecting the 9th house in a debilitation sign. So long distance travel, studies, higher studies, facing different situations in your work, in your career, in your relationship, it's all getting activated. So Saturn aspecting moon directly, which means Saturn's perspective of having its effect on the 4th house, your domestic life, and changes because it is the Scorpio sign, may have a bearing on your emotional health, or you may unnecessarily create issues in your home front because of not being able to manage your marital relationship. So be a little careful in your marital relationship. Be very focused with your emotional partner, with your better half. If you are able to have a good teamwork and work better with your better half, then you will find assets may also go up. You may gain in assets, you may gain in your ability to work at your workplace in a good teamwork, but even long distance travel or getting those high education opportunities which were missing earlier may also get activated. So overall a good placement for you. Just keep in mind whichever is your rising sign. For example, here we took the example of rising sign being Gemini. The number of houses from there the moon is placed and Saturn is placed, that will also have a bearing overall what results you get from moon being placed in the Leo sign in your horoscope. For Virgo Ascendant natives, this is by virtue of if moon is placed in your Virgo sign in your birth chart, whichever may be the ascendant. For example, here we are taking, say for example, your ascendant is that of Taurus, but your moon is placed in the sign of Virgo. So for such people where your moon lagna is Virgo, Saturn will be getting into your 6th house. So for Virgo moon people, Saturn aspecting your 8th house and its debilitation sign, Saturn aspecting your 12th house, Leo sign, and Saturn aspecting your 3rd house, Scorpio sign, which means that your emotional health may be getting affected because of Saturn going into the 6th house and increasing competition connected to your work, connected to your service, because this is the 6th from the moon. So your emotional health or your emotional turmoil may also grow up because of how you are able to manage those people who are working below you or in your work atmosphere, especially those people who are competing with you or compete with you, or even from other departments. So there may be sudden issues which come up, because of which you may have to leave other things. There may be some firefighting at work, because of which your emotional health may be affected, your creativity may be affected, your innovative ability may be getting affected. So be a little careful how you play out your ability to be able to deal with competition, those people who are always countering you from time to time, because Saturn is also aspecting the 3rd house of effort. So effort may also come into focus, and there may be some waste and excess in how you are able to put forth your work in your projects, and because of which you may also have to face some emotional backlash where you will have to counter people, maybe even a little aggressively. So keep your emotions under check if you are able to do that, because moon rules the 11th house and place in the lagna from the moon Virgo sign perspective. So very good societal gains may come for you, and there is also a chance that you may even get promoted at work, because moon rules the 11th house placed in the lagna. Saturn is going into the 6th house, the service. So be able to overcome the challenges connected to competition, connected to how you are able to influence people and work with people, then better gains will come for Virgo ascendant natives. For Libra ascendant natives, by virtue of moon being placed in the sign of Libra or moon lagna being the Libra sign, for you Saturn will be getting into the Aquarius sign, and from there it will be aspecting with the 3rd aspect, your 7th house of relationship, but in a debilitation sign of Aries. Saturn will also be aspecting your 11th house from moon lagna perspective, as well as your 2nd house of income. So for Libra ascendant natives, because moon is placed in the sign of Libra from a moon lagna perspective, your focus on relationship is the key to be able to manage Saturn's transit into Aquarius, because Saturn is moving into the sign of Aquarius, its own sign, its Mool Trikona sign. So Saturn will be protective. However, Saturn will also give you a challenge in your relationship. If your relationship is not very strong, if it is not been formalized yet through an engagement or through a marriage, or societal acceptance is not there, then there may be a heavy stress on your relationship, especially a romantic relationship, and there may be a chance of it even breaking, because Saturn with the 3rd aspect is aspecting your 7th house, but in the sign of Aries is debilitation sign. So keep focus on your relationship, especially from your Libra lagna. Saturn is also aspecting the same sign of Aries, which is the debilitation sign for Saturn, and Saturn is aspecting it. However, because moon rules the 10th house and placed in another Kendra, so overall good results may come in from your career, and because Saturn is going into the 5th house of change in career, which is the 8th house from the 10th house. So through a change in career or a timely change in career, you may also be able to increase your assets, increase your position, increase your stature also, because of it you may be able to get more happiness, more peace, more tranquility also in your life. So play your cards well, look at the opportunities which are coming to you, and make a change with a more focused attention, and see that you like the work that you do rather than hurrying into it, so that better gains can come from your career, better gains can from your societal connection, and your ability to be able to get higher income, higher remuneration. For Scorpio ascendant natives, by virtue of Scorpio ascendant natives, I mean if moon is in the sign of Scorpio in your natal chart, in your birth chart, and then Saturn going into the Aquarius sign, into the 4th house. This is a fantastic placement for Scorpio ascendant natives, because firstly, for Scorpio ascendant natives, Saturn is going into its Mool Trikona sign and in the 4th house in a Sasha Yoga, and from there Saturn will be aspecting your 10th house of career, as well as moon with its 10th aspect in the sign of Scorpio. because Saturn is the Karaka of the 8th house and Scorpio sign is the natural ruler of the 8th house. So Saturn's 10th aspect will also be more protective because it is aspecting its natural 8th house, which Saturn is the Karaka of. Saturn is the Karaka, as we know, of the 8th and the 12th house. However, Saturn will slow down the effects of career for you, which means while there will be a chance to grow in career, because Saturn with the 3rd aspect is aspecting your 6th house, but in the sign of Aries is degradation sign. So an opportunity will come to be able to increase your service potential or increase your role, even to overcome competition, but with some struggle surely. And so an opportunity to rise in stature through being able to gain in your service, in your career may come about. But because Saturn slows down, so you need to be able to identify that opportunity timely, because if you're not able to identify that opportunity, the career change or growing in role or hint being given to you that there is a chance for you to move up or get a better role, if you're able to see that timely, then you can grow in your stature, you can be able to get a increment also, a better role also for you. This is also because for Scorpio ascendant natives, from a moon sign perspective, moon rules the 9th house of gains and placed in the Lagna. However, throughout Saturn's placement in the 4th house from the moon Lagna perspective and in Aquarius, where it is aspecting moon, you may also find from time to time sudden issues, sudden challenges may also creep up, more connected to work. But on the domestic front, this is giving you very high stability, at least for the next 2.5 years and maybe even longer, when Saturn even moves into the Pisces sign for you, because Saturn will be going into the 5th house for Scorpio ascendant natives from a moon sign perspective. So if you are thinking of formalizing your domestic life, getting into a relationship or getting into a formal relationship through engagement or marriage, this is a very good time for you. But keep the focus on both your domestic life as well as your career, and don't allow unnecessary fears or frustrations to rule your head. Then for such a placement of moon in the sign of Scorpio, an excellent placement, though moon gets debilitated in the sign of Scorpio, but by virtue of Saturn aspecting moon and your 10th house and your 6th house, this is a better placement than if Saturn would have been in some other house rather than in a Shasha Yoga that is being created for Scorpio ascendant natives. Now for Sagittarius ascendant natives, by virtue of moon being placed in your Sagittarius sign, for these people this is a very good period, because Saturn is moving away from your 2nd house of Capricorn from its setting sign or setting house into the 3rd house from the moon, which means for those people who are Sagittarius moon sign natives, your Rashi is moon sign is Sagittarius, for them your Sadesati is ending, and so moon is moving away and releasing its grip on the moon. So it is a Sadesati ending period for Sagittarius ascendant natives, so fantastic period overall, especially because Saturn is going into the 3rd house in the Aquarius sign, and from there it is aspecting the 12th house Scorpio sign. So this is a good sign where you will be able to keep a tab on your expenses. This is also placement for some of you, you may also move to or go to foreign lands also. Saturn is at least creating that opportunity. Why foreign lands? Because Saturn is also aspecting with this 7th aspect your 9th house of long distance travel as well as your 12th house of foreign lands. And because Saturn is also aspecting with its 3rd aspect your 5th house of change, though it is Aries sign, but because Saturn is placed in a Mool Trikona sign and is also the ruler of the 2nd house, so there is a change in your place of work. Though the remuneration, the earning may not increase substantially, but at least an opportunity will come back for you. So over the next 2 years and 2 months, you will find change opportunities will surely come in terms of your where you are living, where you are moving, where you are gaining from, and even in your domestic life that may be seen, in your romantic life also that may be seen, but a better gain for you, better placement overall for those people who have moon in the sign of Sagittarius. So keep your focus and attention, but be a little wary of where moon is, which house moon is ruling, because for Sagittarius moon sign people, Moon rules the 6th house, Moon rules the 8th house while being placed in the Sagittarius sign. So you may find that unnecessary fears, frustration, anxieties from time to time may crop up, but these will be unnecessary and you may take those tensions unnecessarily. So as long as you are able to curb that and you are able to keep your motivation high, your spirits high, overall a fantastic period for Sagittarius Ascendant natives. Now for Capricorn Ascendant natives, by virtue of Capricorn Ascendant natives, I mean Moon being placed in the sign of Capricorn in your natal chart. For those people from Moon sign or Rashi perspective, for you this is a good period because Saturn moving into Aquarius sign, which means your peak Sadesati is ending and you're entering into your setting Sadesati period. But Saturn will be transiting into your second house of income, livelihood, remuneration. Third aspect will fall on the fourth house of domestic peace, harmony, happiness, but in its debilitation sign of Aries, and its eighth aspect will be on the, its seventh aspect will be on the 8th house, and its 10th aspect will be in the Scorpio sign but in the 11th house. So because for Capricorn Lagna or Moon sign perspective, Saturn rules, Moon rules the 7th house placed in the Lagna. So this is a good opportunity for you that through your relationship, either at connected to career or at work, or getting into a formal relationship in your love life or in your conjugal life, in your marital life, through that you rise in stature, especially because you are moving into your setting period of Sadesati. So Saturn is activating the second house of income, remuneration, livelihood. So if you have felt stagnant over the last 2 years, 3 years, you didn't feel that you have moved up much, you have done much in your career, you have not been appreciated, you have not been acknowledged, then this is the period for you to put up your hand, because you may be acknowledged. There may be a chance of improving your income, your remuneration, and also promotion, because Saturn is also aspecting your 11th house in the sign of Scorpio. So for those people who are working in large organization, a chance that if you are able to work on your team effort, or if you have done so far, then through your team effort or your ability to handle your team better, you may get a chance of being promoted also. For some people, there may be changes. You may feel that you want to bring about some changes at home, some construction work, some home improvement work may also be done. So overall, a much better period for Capricorn Ascendant natives from a Moon Lagna perspective than the last 3 years where you were in your peak Sadesati period. Now for Aquarius Moon sign perspective, I mean those people who have Moon in the sign of Aquarius in your birth chart, in your natal chart, Saturn is moving away from your 12th house from the sign of Capricorn and moving into your Lagna in Aquarius, which means you will be hitting your peak Sadesati period. Now this is a mixed period for Aquarius sign people, because Saturn is getting into the Lagna but in the Mool Trikona sign and in a Sasha Yoga. So this is not such a bad peak period of Sadesati for those people who have Moon in the sign of Aquarius, because Saturn is protective in its Mool Trikona sign. But because Saturn rules the 12th house, so expenses may go up, or you may feel that you are not able to keep a tight grip on your purse strings, and every now and then you will find that you have to loosen the purse strings and spend. And because Saturn is aspecting the 3rd house with its 3rd aspect, and in the sign of Aries is debridation sign, so which means you will have to put in more hard work, and that hard work may take a toll on your emotional health also, because Saturn is getting into a placement along with Moon or conjunction with Moon, or even to some extent as it is called Vish dosha. So this may bring about a opportunity for you, a situation for you where you have to work harder, and especially work harder with your team, because Saturn is also aspecting with the 10th aspect your 10th house of career, but in the sign of Scorpio. So if you are able to manage your team very well, if you are able to keep your motivation very high, if you are able to keep your emotions under check, then this could be a better period that through your effort, through your ability to connect with people, through your ability to influence people, you get better gains. However, for Aquarius Ascendant natives, where Moon is your placement or Moon Lagna is in Aquarius, for them Moon rules the 6th house and is placed in your natal chart in Aquarius sign. That means from time to time you may unnecessarily feel fatigue in your mental strength, your ability to cope with competition, your ability to cope with challenges, or even finger pointing from your competition. So try and keep the peace with people, try and work closely with people, try and appreciate people, then you will also be acknowledged better. There may be slowdown in your career opportunities, but this is a much better placement of Sade Sati than for somebody else. So overall, keep your health in check, keep working hard, keep your team effort high, keep working hard to be able to get better gains from your career overall. So it's a pretty balanced placement for those people who have moon in the sign of Aquarius. And lastly, for those people who moon sign is Pisces or moon is in the sign of Pisces, for them Saturn is moving away from your 11th house and moving into the 12th house while aspecting your second house of income, but in its degradation sign, then your 6th house of career or service of competition, but also your 9th house of gains of foreign travel, but in the sign of Scorpio. And because moon also rules the 5th house of change in your career, because the 5th house is the 8th house from the 10th house, and Saturn is getting into the 12th house, so there may be an opportunity of going abroad for Pisces ascendant natives, especially because Saturn ruled the 11th house of wishes and desires coming true, and now gone into the 12th house, but in its Mool Trikona sign and aspecting your second house of income. So Saturn will give you an opportunity to go to foreign lands or to get a higher role or better role in large organizations or in MNCs, multinational corporations, and get a higher opportunity of even higher income, higher remuneration, though the income may not increase substantially because third aspect of Saturn is falling into its second house of income, but in its degradation sign of Aries. But still, because moon rules a trine house and plays in the sign of Pisces, which also has the 12th house energy, so surely the 12th house is getting activated, 12th results are getting activated, long distance travel is getting activated, education is getting activated for people who are younger and who are still in colleges. For them, travel, foreign education, getting into universities also getting activated. So overall, for Pisces ascendant natives, this is the better period to be able to bring about a change, to be able to convert your hobbies into your vocation, or to join a certain role or an organization which you like to do, which you love to do, rather than forcing yourself or keeping yourself in a situation or in a work which you don't like. Saturn's 7th aspect on your 6th house, which means you will be able to overcome competition, challenges from competition also, but every now and then you will have to work hard to how you work on your team. And this is also a time where romance may blossom, or even a new romance may blossom. So be a little wary that if you're already in a relationship and a new opportunity of romance blossoms, then there may be a tug of war on your relationship also, because from your moon lagna, moon will be aspecting the 7th house, but in the sign of Virgo, which is the natural 6th house sign. So overall, for Pisces ascendant natives, career, remuneration, foreign travel, foreign universities, higher experiences, higher learning, all are getting activated, and gains of the 5th house of financial assets is also getting activated, as long as you keep the emotions in check. Your creativity should be high and your ability to work with team members should also be high. So friends, now that we have spoken from or looked at or analyzed Saturn's transit into the sign of Aquarius from your moon's lagna, or which sign moon is placed in your horoscope, do check the other video which I have made just a week back of Saturn transiting into Aquarius from your rising sign perspective, and look at both the videos of both the placements in lieu or in tandem or in synergy to be able to understand overall what is the placement it means from your rising sign as well as your moon sign, because together you may be able to get the best results of Saturn getting into smooth Trikona sign of Aquarius. So friend, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me, the link given below. Until some other time, some other video, this is your friend astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.